Hi, everyone. It's great to have you here. I'm Teresa Young, and I'm passionate about helping healthcare leaders stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new technologies by simplifying IT concepts into business-oriented language. So whether you're struggling with data initiatives, trying to make informed decisions about new technologies, or dealing with constant changes in the market, we've got you covered. So for those of you who joined us in my last live, it's great to see you back. So today we're going to be taking a deeper dive into that exciting world of generative AI. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually doing a whole summer series on generative AI and leadership. Now, we're going to talk about how it works and explore its potential as a cognitive force multiplier. Well, let's look at how generative AI works. And let's use an analogy to make it simpler. So imagine you've got a child learning to speak, right? They listen, they learn, and they experiment. And over time, they start to form their own sentences. Well, generative AI works in the same way. It's exposed to vast amounts of data, it learns patterns and structures, and then it starts generating new content based on the patterns. But instead of learning from their parents or teachers, generative AI learns from the data it's been trained on. We have massive amounts of data sets in the US alone. I mean, and across the world, huge as well, right? So they take all this data and they keep loading it and it keeps training, and they take the things that we put in, and this technology just keeps learning. Now, I want to move on to a concept that's quite interesting. It's called cognitive offload, and generative AI is a cognitive force multiplier. So I want to start with talking about what cognitive offload is. Even though our brains are really amazing, they do have their limits. They think about the times when you've had to make a ton of decisions, right? Have you ever noticed how exhausting that can be? A day that's full of meetings, you get done and you are like white. And that's actually a thing called decision fatigue. It's like when you've been shopping all day and by the end of the day, you don't know if you want like a blue shirt or a red shirt. Like it gets a little bit crazy. And then to prove it, like in an evidence-based way, there was a study done on these judges in Israel, and they found that the judges were less likely to give a favorable ruling if it was right before lunchtime. Decision fatigue. So they figured this was happening because these judges have been making decisions all morning long. So, what is a cognitive force multiplier? Well, that's a term that sounds complex, but the idea is really simple. A force multiplier is something that increases your capabilities. For instance, a lever is a force multiplier, right? It allows you to lift heavier objects more than you could do with your bare hands. And similarly, generative AI can be seen as a cognitive force multiplier. It enhances our cognitive abilities. It helps us solve complex problems, generate novel ideas, or just make decisions based on lots of data that would be impossible for us as humans to process on our own. For example, imagine you're a songwriter, right? And you're struggling with writer's block. Generative AI can be trained on a vast array of songs and lyrics, and it could generate new lyrics for you, or it could just provide you fresh ideas and inspiration. Think about being a doctor, right? You're trying to diagnose a rare disease. And we see this being implemented right now in some of our EHRs. A generative AI that's trained on countless medical records and studies, they could suggest a diagnosis that you might not have considered. And if you haven't seen some of the studies out there, I'd be more than happy to share them with you. Just hit me up on a DM, and we can talk about like what's already happening out in the market so that you're prepared for it. Well, you know what? That's the power of generative AI as a cognitive force multiplier. It doesn't replace human creativity or decision making. Instead, it augments it, right? It allows us to achieve more than we could do on our own. And in a high stakes business negotiation, think about this, right? Your AI could provide insights from your past negotiations. Any salespeople out there? I know I've got a ton of them in my network, right? It could highlight potential pitfalls and even recommend negotiation tactics based on the profile of your counterpart. Knowledge bases and applying AI to those. Think about it. So, you know what? You still need that human body to read the body language, pick up on the inflections in the voice, and create connections and that communication to conduct the negotiation. But that heavy lift of the learning and the analyzing, the processing that's done on the fly, we can do some cognitive offloading at that point and really boost our ability to work, as they say, at the top of our license. So one of the things that you may hear is this is called attention engineering, and basically what attention engineering is that you're preserving your human cognition for when it's most needed. So we are not wasting brain power on doing the things that we don't need to. So that's it for today's deep dive into generative AI and how it affects us. And we've learned how it works. And just like a child who's learning a language, we've explored its potential as a cognitive force multiplier to augment your own abilities. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Like, do you have any questions about generative AI? And what are your thoughts on its potential as a cognitive force multiplier? Well, just share in the comments. And remember, the conversations don't have to end here. Let's keep exploring, learning, and innovating together. So thanks for joining today, and I look forward to seeing you next week, where we're going to continue this whole series on generative AI and leaders. You guys take care, and I'll catch you on the flip side.